Hey everybody, it's Mark. It's been a long time since you've heard from me. But before I get into anything else, I owe you the real reason why. You see, a few years ago, I was at the highest point I'd ever been. I was the face of Zig Ziglar family. I'd just run a challenge that 50,000 people signed up for. And I'd just written a book with Kevin Harrington, the original shark from Shark Tank, and my mentor called Mentor to Millions. It hit Wall Street Journal and USA Today bestseller list and topped every single category on Amazon that we dared to hope for. I was sitting in the exact spot a lot of people spend their whole lives trying to reach. Perfectly set up to launch everything in my life even bigger. And I was pretty good at what I was doing. But then, about 3 months later, everything changed. Something happened within my family, something I never saw coming and would never wish on anyone. I'm not going to share what it was out of love for my family. I can't and I won't. But it brought me to my knees, the kind of to my knees where life goes to a blur and nothing else even registers. And it made something painfully clear, really fast. None of it means anything. Not the bestseller list, not the awards, not the platform. Here I was, the guy on stage telling everybody that family comes first, while behind the scenes, my own family was walking through the hardest thing we've ever faced. That's not success. I don't care what the lists say. If your family isn't safe and whole, you're not winning. So I did something a lot of people wouldn't understand. I stepped away. I had to. My family comes first, always. I didn't retire. I had plenty left in me. I just walked away from everything that looked like success but didn't feel like it anymore. I stopped posting. I stopped the podcast. I stopped these emails. I pulled back from the whole public-facing world. At the exact moment everybody says you're supposed to hit the gas, because how could I focus on building something out there when the people I love most needed me right here? So I went home. I had no idea what we were up against or how long it was going to take or whether we'd actually even come out on the other side okay. I just knew that being present with the people who needed me was the only thing that really mattered. So for several years, that's what I did. I gave my family the best I could instead of whatever was left at the end of the day. For years, I told audiences that family was the most important thing you'll ever build. Well, was me finally living it instead of just saying it. I'm not going to turn this into a proud dad speech, and I'm not asking for any pat on the back, but I have to tell you just a little because it's part of the reason I'm back. My family did come through it, not perfectly and not with everything tied up in a bow, because life doesn't work that way at all. But my kids did come through it, and we're all still doing the hard work. The kids, for their part, have gone and built real lives. One's running a real estate business with multiple properties, and he's not even 30. One has a stack of degrees and is now head of growth at a company after being another company's COO. The youngest is in med school. Those are their wins, not mine, but I got to be there for them, and that's the part I wouldn't trade. And I got to be close for it because I dove in with my undivided attention. And we grew through what we were going through. I don't regret it. Walking away was the most important thing I've ever done, even though it cost me things I never expected it to cost. It didn't look like success from the outside, and some of it still doesn't look like success today. But let me get clear on what actually matters. I traded a few years of the world knowing my name for being fully present with the people who needed me most. I'd make that choice again. And I'm not writing you or speaking to you from some finish line where everything's perfect now. I'm writing as someone that's still in the middle of it, still doing the hard work, just no longer willing to be quiet. So now you're probably wondering, okay, Mark, why are you in my inbox? The real and raw answer is because my kids and my team said, get back in. Somewhere along the way, the shadows became my new normal. I kept helping people, but quietly, privately, one handful at a time, sometimes one person at a time, with nobody watching. And I told myself that was enough. And it was good work, but the people closest to me, my kids, my team, few close friends kept telling me it wasn't the whole story. They'd watched what I was made for, and they wouldn't let me hide it. Finally, they sat me down and said, "Hey, it's over. We're all okay. Some of us are better than okay. We are who we are because of you, because of the commitments you've made. But you've still got a lot left to give, and you're sitting on it, using it for a tiny handful of people, while there are a lot of people out there who need exactly what you have. We don't need your wisdom to make it anymore. We're good, but it doesn't feel right watching you keep it to yourself. Go use it for other people. That'll make us happy, and we know it'll make you happy too. Get back in the ring, Dad. It's your time." My own kids called me back out into the world, not to chase the spotlight. I've never really wanted my name in lights, but to do the one thing that gives me more joy than anything I've ever done for myself: help people become exactly who they're meant to be. And here's the strange part. When I walked away from chasing impressions and put everything into impact, into the people who actually mattered, I started seeing something I couldn't see before. Probably because I've been too busy trying to be the guy I thought I was supposed to be. What I started seeing wasn't small. It's three forces, all hitting at once, and I'm watching them reshape the business and the businesses around me. I'm watching them reshape the people and the businesses around me, in a lot of cases before they've even put words to it. And I've got a strange suspicion that what I'm seeing up close is showing up in a much bigger way in the world. So let me walk you through these three forces. And as I do, I want to invite you to notice where they might be showing up in your own life. Okay, let's dive in. Number one, the me to we pendulum is swinging back, and people don't know how to make the turn. People are swinging back from me to we, and they don't know how. What do I mean by that exactly? Okay, let me explain. A few years ago, I got to spend several hours with a man named Roy Williams, the author of the book called Pendulum. He broke down something that has stuck with me ever since. The idea is this: about every 40 years, society swings between two extremes. For a few decades, we get more and more focused on me, on the individual. Then the pendulum swings back the other way towards we, towards the group, the community, the team. A full swing and back takes about 80 years, and the turns, when they come, they're rough. Right now, we're living through one of those turns, swinging out the most me era in modern history back towards we, and people are struggling to figure out what to do with it. And I feel it everywhere I go. In every room I walk into, there's this hunger for real connection, real community, the kind that seems to vanish overnight about 6 years ago. People are starving for it. They just have no idea how to get it back. And this isn't just a feeling I have. It turns out you can actually measure this. So back in 2003, the average American spent about an hour a day face-to-face with friends. By 2020, that was down to about 20 minutes. That means we cut 2/3 of our in-person time with friends out of our lives in one generation. We're now alone close to 7 hours a day and home almost 9. We didn't just drift apart. We tore down the places where closeness used to happen. The front porch, the diner, the bowling league, the church basement, even the bar. 4 out of 10 people now order alcohol delivered for a night in instead of going out. We swapped the room full of people for screens and a delivery app. And then we wonder why we feel so alone. It got bad enough that in 2023, the US Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, put out an 81-page report calling loneliness a national epidemic and said it does about as much damage to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. When the government writes 81 pages about people not being close enough to each other, you know it's real. Now here's the trap. It's almost like we've forgotten how to be together in person. We're used to ordering off the internet, used to food at our doorstep, used to all this time alone. And being alone has become the easy option, the convenient option, the default option. But at the end of the day, it leaves us empty. So we're caught in this tension. We want to be more together, and yet the sheer convenience of being alone keeps pulling us apart. Which brings me to the second force. Okay, number two, the impression to impact shift. We've been chasing the wrong one. For more than 10 years now, the world has rewarded one thing above everything else: impressions, followers, likes, reach, the keynote, the numbers on the dashboard. Here's how far it goes. Ask kids today what they want to be when they grow up, and they're about 3 times more likely to say influencer than astronaut. A generation ago, kids wanted to explore the universe. Now they just want to be watched on a screen. And don't write that off as just kids. 57% of Gen Z and 41% of all adults say they'd take the influencer job if they could. One study found 60% of people between the ages of 45 and 60, people who should know better, would quit their job tomorrow to be a full-time content creator. But here's the part that should stop you cold. About half of all those creators make $15,000 a year or less. The single most wanted job in the country, the one that looks like success, pays most of the people doing it almost nothing. I can't think of a cleaner example of chasing the impression of something instead of chasing the real thing. People are trying to look impressive instead of actually making an impact. And quietly, the most successful people I know are asking a completely different set of questions. Ones that no number on a dashboard can really answer. Am I actually making a difference to the people who matter to me? Will anybody remember me in 20 years for anything that actually mattered? Am I making a real impact in the world? Impact is what we're starving for. Impressions are what we got sold. And the gap between those two is where a very specific kind of pain lives. I know exactly how wide that gap is because I lived in that pain. I had every impression a person could want: bestseller list, media likes, a platform. And in a single afternoon, I found out that none of it could touch the one thing that mattered the most to me. So I climbed out of that gap and I went home, literally. Okay, number 3. The transparency tax. It's gotten even lonelier at the top than it already was. Everybody's lonelier than they used to be. But if you're a leader, a founder, a CEO at the top of your game, it's gotten even worse for 2 reasons. First, once you become the most successful person in your friend group, the people you'd normally lean on start leaning on you instead. You become everyone else's answer, and you're left with nobody to ask for help. Okay, second, there's a tax that tends to hit leaders the hardest. I call it the transparency tax. Here's what it means. When you're a leader, you can't just come out and say, I don't know how to solve this. You can't say it to your board. They appointed you to run the thing. You can't say it to your team. They're looking to you to be the one who knows. And you can't say it publicly because it can change how people see your company. And if you're public, it can move markets. So you're forced to fake having it all together, even when your world is quietly falling apart. It's the real version of fake it till you make it. And quite frankly, it's exhausting. Let me give you a number from my own life that makes this real. As part of the work I do, I sit on a handful of corporate boards. So before COVID, those boards met in person every single quarter. So do the math on just 4 of them. 4 boards, 8 people each, 4 times a year. That's 128 in-person connections over a 12-month period. 128 times I was in a room face-to-face with serious people who actually understood the weight I was carrying. Then COVID hit. And each of those boards changed the bylaws so we didn't have to meet in person anymore. And once we made that change, we never went back, not even once. Today, those same boards meet entirely on video, and plenty of companies like it that way because it's cheaper. There's no flights, no hotels, no dinners that actually put people together, breaking bread face to face. So take a look at that number, 128 connections a year in a room. Now, down to 0. And that's what's happening in boardrooms across America and across the world. The boardroom used to be one of the last places people at the top got their tank filled back up by being around people like them. Today, that gas station's closed. In my own life, I've gone from 8 boards down to 4, partly because the video version feels so empty that there's nothing in it that fills my tank. Now let's take my one little story and multiply it by millions of leaders around the world. That's why the people who look like they have it all, the ones who feel like they have it all together, have never felt more alone. Because they are more alone. I've got a client, I'll keep him anonymous, who by every outside measure is successful beyond anyone's definition of success. He's at the top of his world in every category. He has everything. And he is hands down the loneliest person in my life right now. Not because nobody's around him, because he can't tell a single one of them where he's really struggling. Since his whole position depends on looking like he's got it all figured out. And here's where it all comes together. Look at these 3 forces at the same time. We're aching to move from me to we, but we don't have the circumstances to make the move. We've been sold the chase for impressions when what we really want is impact. And it's never been lonelier to be a leader at the top. Now look at the solution being handed to us for all 3. And notice that it arguably makes the problem worse. When a leader hits a wall today, where does he go? More and more? The answer we're being sold is go to a chatbot, go to ChatGPT, go to Claude. AI therapy, ChatGPT is something like 800 million people a week using it now. And one of the most common things they use it for is therapy and companionship. Companion apps are up 700% in just the last 3 years. We're handing the most human thing there is, the need to actually be known by someone, over to software because at least the software won't judge us. The kind of closeness that used to hold people up, the porch, the boardroom, the long dinner, the friend who knew the real you, has quietly disappeared. And nobody's mapped the way back. So here's the real question. If we're all aching to come back together, but we're coming out of a decade, maybe several, that rewards us for performing instead of connecting, and if those of us who are leaders, the ones with the most to lose by admitting we're disconnected, are actually the loneliest of all, then the question's simple. Where do we go from here? 3 forces, all hitting us at once. Everybody feels the distance. Almost nobody knows how to close it. It's a thread I've been pulling for the last 3 years, and I think I've landed on something very few people have. A way forward that takes us off the path most of us already sense isn't the right one. That's what I want to get into in the next issue, because I think the usual answer to all of this isn't just wrong, it's actually making things worse. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. But for now, I just want to hear from you. I'm honestly curious. Does any of what I've laid out here match what you're seeing out there? Have you felt one of these forces in your own life lately? The hunger for real community, the emptiness of chasing impressions on social media and beyond, or that quiet loneliness of being the person everyone else turns to, the one who can't exactly raise a hand and ask for help? If any of that rings true, hit reply and tell me what resonated. I read every email I get, and it would mean the world to hear from you. It's so good to be back. Now, a little PS here. I almost didn't write this. Coming back after being gone this long feels a little like walking back into a party you left without saying goodbye to anybody. But my kids were right. Keeping this to myself doesn't sit right anymore. So here I am. I'll bring you more soon.